All right, so our next step, once we have our design totally completed, we've created a template or as many templates as you need that will be the correct size that will either fit your project exactly or it is placed the size that you want on your project. Okay, so everything is drawn out exactly how I want it. And now I'm ready to transfer on the design. So a couple options. If your piece is a piece that is going to lay flat, like a platter, a wall pocket, anything, you would simply just place the template directly on top, okay? However, if your piece is something that is more 3D, like a cylinder, etc., you can take your template. Hopefully it has your design all on here. You can simply wrap it around your project and then you can tape it together so that it will stay on, okay? And then it won't move around. So that's an option, okay? But I'm just going to show you on this little small piece right now. So once you have all 3 layers of slip, so again, remember you wanted to have 3 totally separate layers that dried in between coats. Otherwise, once we fire it, you are going to see streaks, blotches, etc. A couple of these projects right here, you can see there's splotchy areas that didn't quite get covered. So you want to make sure you've got full coverage everywhere. This has now dried to leather hard, and I would say probably even a little bit past leather hard. You'll note this piece, it's not really that flexible. It's quite cold, and it's already starting to feel a little bit hard. So you don't want it to be squishy or soft at all. Otherwise, everything's going to get stuck, all right, sticky. So dried to leather hard, and then just let it air out just a little bit more so that it's stiffened up, okay? So next step then is transferring our design onto our project, and we are literally going to trace. So we have our design, we line it up exactly where we want. So if it's the exact size, that's going to make it a lot easier. Otherwise, you can place it exactly how you want it, centered, etc. So we'll line that up. For this step, what you're going to need is just a dull pencil. So you definitely don't want something that's going to be super, super sharpened. Probably don't want to use a mechanical pencil because if we trace, you're probably just going to stab through the paper and rip your whole template apart. So kind of a dulled down pencil. And literally all we're going to do is trace our outline. Now, one thing to think about, particularly if you have really detailed areas, is I usually trace a little bit inside the line so that we don't accidentally make anything too thick and then we miss out on any of those detailed areas. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start tracing some of this so that you get an idea. And you don't need a lot of pressure. It's just like you would be tracing any other kind of paper. I'm just going to do a small part of it. So again, I'm going to go kind of on the inside so that I have a little bit of wiggle room with my carving. Okay, so I would just continue that through the entire piece. Obviously, you would probably go a little bit slower. I'm just showing this for demonstration purposes, etc. Trace the entire thing. Anywhere you have outlines, anywhere you wanted to do carvings. And what that's doing is it's just pushing the paper into your clay. And because your clay is still slightly leather hard, just a little bit past leather hard, it will create an imprint. So then when you peel off your design, you'll be able to see that outline there. Okay, so we're not actually doing any carving or anything yet. We're just getting an outline of where we need to carve. So you would simply just do that. Make sure that everything's staying put. So that's sometimes why I like to tape it. You could even tape it onto the surface of the clay. get some masking tape, wrap it around, tape it onto the surface of the clay so it doesn't move around and then your design gets distorted. But simply go around, trace every single outline that you like, carefully peel it up, and then you will have your design on there, okay? You do still want to be careful about wiping the surface, rubbing the surface. You will still probably have some of those little sand bits, so try not to rub them around and then start scratching everything up. You also try not to, rub back and forth. That might rub off any part of your project. As you noticed, again, in some of these examples, while transferring the design carving, some of these areas kind of got rubbed down and then the slip kind of got rubbed off. So you want to be careful about rubbing any of that layer off. Okay, so now you have your design everywhere. So if for some reason you make a giant boo-boo, like you rub the whole thing, or you're like, this is not centered at all, I don't like it, I changed my mind, I want to do a different design. We do have a slight indent here. So we haven't carved anything yet, so that's good. You still can change your design. But if for some reason you think, oh, I made a mistake right here, we obviously can't just erase it anymore, right? But what you could do is get your slip, okay, because it is still leather hard. You can still put slip on it. Get your slip and you could paint over that area with a new layer of slip. Let it completely dry to the same consistency, leather hard, a little bit past leather hard, and then you can retrace it. Okay, of course, you're welcome to hand sketch something on. If you decide I want to add a little star or something right here, you could hand sketch something on. You just want to be careful about actually digging into the surface of the clay. Okay, but having everything ready to go. So if I decided, oh, I want to add something here, I would add that before I would actually trace. So I knew everything would be exactly where I want it, the size I want it, everything. Okay. One tip, however, if you are not working on a flat item like a plate, a wall pocket, something that would be more 3D like your cylinder, just a reminder that you do want to be a little bit more careful with carving. You don't want to simply just lay your project on the table and push on it, as that would most likely create pressure and crack your project. So for something like this, what I would recommend is just tilting it sideways, placing your hand on the inside so you've got some support while you work your way and carve your way around the project. If you aren't just doing a template all the way around and you're doing separate templates, one little tip of advice, because you don't necessarily want to lay your project with your nice clean Sgraffito on something that might pick up all of these little scraps of clay. So if you are going to do separate templates and you might need to lay your project down and rotate it from side to side, make sure that you're going to be working on a really clean surface. So probably a new piece of paper towel so that when you lay it down and you put your template on top, you could tape that down if you wanted to, but otherwise just hold it, support from the back, and then you can trace here. All right. And then as you rotate it, if you got anything on your paper towel, shift to a new spot so that you don't pick up any clay flakes or any smudges or anything like that. And then that is it. Then we have our design transferred. So at this step, then we would take another picture to show me that you have your design placed, you've made any corrections that you wanted to do, and you're ready for the carving step, which is our last step. Okay, so keep this leather hard, photograph it, and then we'll be ready to move on to carving.